Yeah, guys, I'm Hellhound, and welcome to another episode of my show. As I mentioned in my Fright Night Part 2, yeah, I changed my appearance once again, by the way, but as I mentioned in my Fright Night Part 2 review, I, mentioned that in my early videos, I usually would review a movie and then talk about all the sequels right after. And so I felt like some of those sequels deserve their own video, hence why I reviewed Fright Night Part 2 separately, as well as talking about it in my original Fright Night review, which is one of the earliest videos I did on here. I was a real amateur, and, well, I probably still am. But another really early review I did was Return of the Living Dead from 1985, directed by Dan O'Bannon, which is one of my favorite movies of all time, easily my top 5, as I mentioned several times. It's the best zombie movie, too, right up there with the original Dawn of the Dead, and Zombie, as far as I'm concerned, anyway. So, yeah, there's really annoying glare in here. There's way too much light. But I'm kind of in a hurry, so this probably is going to be a very long review. I got stuff to do. So, yeah. Jesus Christ. We've got too many movies. So, yeah, reviewed the original Return of the Living Dead. The best movies of all time. Best horror movies, easily. Right there with Evil Dead 2. And I talked about Return of the Living Dead Part 2 a little bit. I talked about Part 3. Which doesn't really feel like a Return of the Living Dead film, but it's still pretty good. Then, of course, there's 4 and 5, who, are Return of the Living Dead sequels in name only. They're just given that name just to cash in on its success. But yeah, we have Return of the Living Dead Part 2. Just when you thought it was safe to be dead. That's the tagline. Isn't that a laugh? This doesn't really feel like a sequel because, it feels more like a Return of the Living Dead movie than any of the other sequels that came out afterwards, but, it doesn't mention the events of the first movie at all, at the end after they just bombed the whole town and, I guess, destroyed all the zombies, and I guess they covered it up or something, I don't know how, but, this movie feels kind of more like a remake or a retelling. A lot of the same events occur. You have the Tarman zombie again. He's the first one that's discovered. And you have James Karen and Tom Matthews playing different roles this time. This time, instead of, working at the medical supply building, with the cadavers and stuff, this time they're grave robbers. And this time, Freddy's girlfriend is played by, his name's not Freddy in this movie, Tom Matthews. She's played by Suzanne Snyder from, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, and I think she was also briefly in Night of the Creeps. But yeah, they're grave robbers. They're the only 2 returning cast members. I really wish that Clu Gallagher or Don Calfa had returned, or even Linnea Quigley, or, Miguel Nunez Jr., or any of them. That'd have been great. But, they, this time it's a kid. The main character's a kid, which usually, I don't really like, when a kid is the protagonist in a horror movie. They usually get on my nerves. And this one's no exception. I didn't really care for the kid, honestly. And then there's a bully. The kid's the one who discovers the canister. The main focus is on him. The gas seeps out, the chemical trioxin 245. Yet again, zombies reanimate and make asses of themselves. This one tries really hard to blend the horror and comedy of the first film, but it really just kind of feels like a slapstick movie. They don't really do as well at blending the two. It just, there's too much Three Stooges style, ridiculous comedic elements. They really went overboard the comic relief. They didn't balance it as good as they did in Part 1 at all. And I feel like this is a very inferior sequel. It does not live up to the original by any means. It's the closest thing we've ever got to a true follow-up, though. I feel like we still haven't got, a movie that continues the story of the first movie. I think that after we should see what happened in the aftermath, after the town was bombed. In fact, Don Calfa even wanted to write, I think he actually made a comic, where he wanted to write a novel, called Revenge of the Living Dead, that actually continues right where the first one left off, and it turns out that they all survived, to see the game characters again. Now, that would be awesome. I'd love to see that, but unfortunately, this is all we have instead in its place. But, the movie's not terrible. It just, oh gosh, when compared to the original, it just not a worthy follow-up. Yeah, this time Ken Wiederhorn directed. I don't know. It just, I mean, I don't even know what to say. Like, this just, I mean, it has some good scenery again. I love the cemetery. Not as good as the one in the first film, of course. I really wish they would have had retained the same theme song, like when the dead is reanimating. You know, the dun 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 dun. I wish they would have had that. That'd have been awesome. You know, the first movie had such a great soundtrack. But, you know, yeah, this one feels kind of like a kid's movie. This is like a Disney version of Return of the Living Dead. There's still a few bloody, you know, gore scenes. But I don't know. Overall, it just feels like a huge letdown. It's a great poster, though. I think that was painted by the same guy. It was the same artwork. Drawn by the same guy to the artwork for the Fright Night poster, you know, which is cool. But, yeah, there's just, I don't know, there's just, came out in 1987, they could have done better, they could have done a lot better. Yeah, I really didn't think it was a good idea to have a kid as the main character. It is a hoot seeing James Cameron and Tom Matthews again. They even make reference to the fact that you know, they returned from the first movie. Tom Matthews says something like, I feel like we've been here before, me, you, them, you know, referring to the zombies. This time he does get they become zombies again, of course, in this one. They kind of rehash the same elements of the first movie, the same tropes. And this time he does get his girlfriend's brain. You know, he tried to do that in the first movie, but was unsuccessful. He ended up getting his face burned off with acid. But this one time he actually lets him. I guess I spoiled that for you. I apologize. I apologize for spoiling this great movie for you. But, you know, as I said, it's not terrible. It's just, you know, if you don't compare it to the first one as a standalone, I guess it's a little more enjoyable. But, I don't know, I just wanted to see more of the same elements that made the original so great. And they're pretty much absent here. Replaced by, you know, slapstick humor and kid stuff. There's even a Michael Jackson zombie that shows up. And it's actually played by the same actor who played Scuzz in the first movie. You know, the guy with the mohawk who gets his brain eaten by what ends up being the half woman zombie. Yeah, I feel like I just want to talk about the first movie more. I don't even want to review part 2. Sorry, I just got to be honest. Yeah, let me try to think of something good about it. I thought it was kind of clever how I got nothing. No, the kid has the same last name as Bert, the first movie. I don't know if it's supposed to be related or, as I said, this feels kind of more like a remake. You know, it didn't feel like a sequel at all. It didn't continue the story, but this has turned out to be a really shitty review, hasn't it? I apologize. As I said, I'm just such a huge fan of the original that, you know, everything that came after like had some really big shoes to fill. Yeah, there was, you know, some pretty high expectations that needed to be met, and they were not here. But, you know, it does kind of have the same feel of the first movie, somewhat. You know, some of the music is kind of similar. See a severed hand and a spree in the back of a seat of a crowded car. Gasp as a zombie torso and its missing legs happily seek each other in a long hospital corridor. Search no longer fright, fans. This Dead Fest is lively fun. Well, not as fun as the first one. But the special features got commentary by the director and one of the stars, Thor Van Lingen. Thor Van Lingen commentary. There you go. Was that the actor that played the bully kid or something? I don't even know. I probably got that wrong. But, you know, I was thrilled this came out on DVD, though, because, like, previously they only had the first one and the third one. I felt like it was, you know, there's a gap. It was just missing in my collection. Back then it was just a trilogy before the shit fests known as 4 and 5 came out to stink up the place. Yeah, I was thrilled when it came out. But, you know, I'm proud to have it as part of my collection, but I feel like we still deserve a true Return of the Living Dead follow-up, because none of the sequels can do it justice. At all. Well, there's a severed head that says, take that damn screwdriver out of my head. So this movie does have that, you know. Where else can you see something like that in a movie? Well, you know, I think we're going to wrap this review. I apologize that I didn't really, probably didn't do it justice, but, you know, as I said, I'm such a huge fan of the original that this was a disappointment. However, I would give it, like, probably 7 out of 10. It didn't really deserve that, but maybe 6 out of 10. The first one's a 10, obviously. Because, yeah, as I said, there are some memorable scenes, and maybe I was a little too hard on it. I apologize. Maybe one day I'll give it give it another chance, give it a real. Every time I watch it, my mind wanders. I kind of get bored, and I usually end up taking it out and watching the first one instead. Definitely see this movie. I highly recommend it, and go ahead and see this one too. It's not a bad movie. It's just not a very good follow-up. All right, well, guys, I'm Hellhound, and I apologize for the shitty review. It's probably one of the worst ones I ever did, but you know, I just couldn't really think of much to say about this movie. Yeah, I'll probably be doing some more sequels in the future. You know, some that I already talked about when I reviewed the first movie, and so stay tuned for that. All right, guys. Well, until next time.